Hello and welcome back to this channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to go ahead and draw this super simple watermelon because it's summer and who doesn't love watermelon? Anyway, so we're going to draw this with Adobe Fresco. So let's just get started. Before we start, I wanted to say that I have a new class on how to draw absolutely gorgeous sunset skies using Adobe Fresco. So if you want to check this class out for free, I have a 1-month free subscription, Skillshare subscription for you guys. So go check the link in the description box below. So let's go draw this watermelon then. I want you to click on Create New and go into Recent and click on Current Screen Size. Since my iPad is in portrait mode, my current screen size is also in portrait mode. If you want to change it, click here and you can switch to landscape, but we're going to stick with this and click. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is draw a sketch. It's alright if you don't want to do a sketch. I do have one ready. You can go ahead and download it from the link in the description below. Or today, I'm just going to go into my pixel brushes, go into sketching, and I will choose pencil. This is the default brush that opens as soon as you open a Fresco file. So once you have it, we're just going to go ahead and draw a watermelon. By the way, I'm using my 2-finger taps to undo things like that. And I'm going to draw a watermelon. You can draw it thick, thin, whatever you want. And this is just sketch. So yeah, go ahead and experiment it. And you know that watermelons can be any size and shape. And then we're going to do a slice of a watermelon. So go ahead and make sure you draw a slice as well. Oh, this is too big. Probably here and then here. You can always fix these things when you're doing the actual painting, so don't stress too much about it. It's completely okay. This is it. This is my watermelon. So let's go ahead to the next step. Plus, we're going to first draw the watermelon. That's the main part here. So let's click on the lasso tool and lasso. And now we're going to go ahead and select a watermelon. So you can just go ahead and draw. I have a shaky hand, so that didn't come out great. You can use your undo button for this as well. And then make sure you join it so that you see a very nice round shape. So sometimes you might see these marching ants that's over here, and you see marching ants, or it can show also the selection overlay. If you think this is more comfortable for you, then go ahead and use this option. Otherwise, use marching ants. It doesn't make a difference. It's just a way of showing what region has been chosen. So basically, when you're using this marching ants, you don't know whether the area inside the circle is chosen or the outside. I mean, obviously you know because you just drew it, but when there's some complicated drawings or you're doing undo button multiple times. So if you chose this selection overlay, you know exactly what is being used. So if you do invert selection, you know exactly what's being used, right? But if you do marching ants, see, it's not that obvious unless you look over here. So I'm going to remove that and get back to my original thingy. So now let's go to the brush. I'm going to go into my pixel brushes and I will go into dry media and we're going to choose something called hard pastel. So this brush right now is set at default setting because I just logged into a different Fresco account right now. So obviously it's set at default setting. And now we'll go choose a color. I want you to click here and then this outer circle tells you what color you want. For example, green. But see, it's showing up as black here. That's because this little guy has to go move around here to give you a very nice color. So we're going to go ahead and keep it around here, I guess. Yeah, we want something light for the watermelon. And if you want the exact same color, it is 99, 79 and 85. If you want to use these numbers, you can just click and then you can type in whatever you want. So make a note of this if you really want. But I would suggest that you go pick your own colors because that's a lot of fun as well. So let's see, the brush size is at 175. You can click and go up and down or click and hold and do this or, you know, use this as well. This is the opacity or flow. I'm not going to change it. I'll keep it as it is. This is the smoothing, which is at 1. That means that the brush is not super smooth and this is exactly what we need. And if you want to know what this is all about, I have a separate video on that. I will link that in the description box below or as a card. You can go check it out. So let's go ahead and color this one. Now I want to add some darker bits in here and lighter bit over here. So we're going to go ahead and pull this one a little bit down. So you see it becomes a little darker and then we're going to add a bit over here. You can also go in here and go to mixer brushes and in here I'll choose big chunky mixer and this is a 337 and flow is 100, and maybe I can increase this a bit to about 400-ish, and we're going to go gently mix this. But if you want to retain the texture, you can still do that. Like you can just keep it as it is. You don't have to really mix. Now we have to add some highlight over here. So I'm going to go into my brushes. I will go into basic, and there's something called as soft round opacity. Let's use that. So the default is 175 and it's set to 100. We'll use that, and we'll make sure we go ahead and choose white. And I'm going to add a bit of color over here, and make sure you add more pressure here and lighter pressure as you move towards outside. And now it's time to add the extra freckles or whatever the watermelon has, right? So I'm going to go into my brushes, and in here I will go into dry media and contour crayon, and this one we're going to use the dark green that we had over here, but we're going to pull it even further down. And then this is around 99, 79 and 40. And then I'll try to draw this. This is too thin, so I'm going to increase this size, and let me see how big it is. We're going to increase the size to about maybe 400. Let's see. That's good, I guess. So we will reduce this to about 300-ish. Let me check. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the watermelon thingy right now, and I'm going to have, let me just click a plus here so that I'll go to a different layer and not draw on the original one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make lines so that they are round like this, and then like that, you know what I mean, so that it makes it look like it's a bit plump. Okay, so I will clear this layer and let's draw. I want you to put a little bit of pressure if it's not coming out fine, and we're going to go ahead and draw the major lines first. Okay, I think I need this to be a little bit more smaller, 175, and then I want you to draw a bit like this. It's okay if it's thin, we're going to go ahead and add more of it. So I want you to come all the way here and draw a bit like that, and then we're going to make a bit like this, and then we're going to make thing like that. Okay, perfect. So once you have this, now I'm going to go little pressure, more pressure, and I'm going to twist my brush a little bit in some places like here. You can also try out new brushes, like you can go into dry media, and then there's something called rough pencil. Let's make it a little bigger, about 140 or something, and then you can try that as well to give you this effect. And I'm going to reduce it a bit more, maybe around 90s, because I was finding it really hard to control it. And then we're going to add this. So I'm going to add some just bits and pieces here, a bit of color from the end like that. I just noticed one thing, that I added this white shade or the highlight on this layer, but it seems like that's not where it should be, because now the highlight is only on the base layer, but it's not on this watermelon thingy, right? So that is not good. So we're going to go back and select our light green that we used for this, and I'm going to go back into my hard pastel, and I'm going to just draw over that white thing that I did. Okay, perfect. It's covered up. We're going to put the highlight on top of everything once we are done with the watermelon. Okay, go here. Now I want you to click on another layer, because we're going to add more texture to our watermelon. So go in here and then go into rakes. If you don't have rakes, I think you should have it, but if you don't have it, you can just use pencil or something similar and scratch some lines into it. I'm going to click on rake caps, and for this I want a darker color, but I don't want the darkest color that we used here, so I'm going to use that medium color that we used over here, and then I'm going to bring it down a little bit so that it's darker than this but lighter than this. Let's make it smaller, and I want your flow or opacity to be reduced to about 40% or 50% or something like that. I'll click on the settings here, and then the spacing, I'm going to put it a little bit lower, maybe around 10%. Yes, that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to reduce this further. I want thinner lines, about 78 or 80-ish. And then we'll go ahead and add some lines like that. And I want you to add them like this on a different layer, obviously. And then you go back here and you can reduce the opacity to make it a bit lighter if you feel like it's too much. Okay. Now click on plus and we're going to add the highlight that I showed earlier. So go back to white, go back to your, if you go into recent, you can see all your brushes. So I'm going to use the soft round opacity and then add my highlight over here like that. There you go. Now I want to add a bit of darker shade over here. So I'm going to click on plus and I will choose the dark or maybe even darker, pull it down a bit, and we'll go into soft round opacity again. And we're going to add a bit of color here. You can also add a bit of color around this area where your slice is going to turn up. I'll click and hold and bring it all the way up so that you can see it. And now you can go ahead and add the shadow towards the slice around here like that. Perfect. So once you've done with the watermelon, you can go ahead and click on deselect. Now we're going to draw this slice, so plus, I'm going to bring this one over here, I don't need it. Let's go to lasso and select this. And now I'm going to choose some bright red, here maybe, let's see, that's too orange, and there you go. Bit lower, I guess that should be okay. It's these numbers, so if you want, make a note. And I'm going to go into my hot pastel and draw this. So make sure you don't draw the entire thing out. And then I will go ahead and bring this a little bit down to make it a little darker. And then you can add a bit here like that. You can actually, if you want to retain the texture, you don't have to smoothen it out. Even this gives like a really nice effect. But otherwise, if you do want to, you can always go to mixer brushes and soften it up a little bit. Now we'll add the green bits to it. So plus, and make sure you're still on the selection mode. And I will go back to the green that I chose earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of green here. And I think I might have to reduce the size because this one, make sure your pencil is outside. So then you can bring it and make it like this. And now we're going to go to plus. We will choose the dark color that we had for shadow. Choose whichever you want. It doesn't matter at this point here. Soft opacity. And I'm going to give a bit of a shadow here like that. In the bottom. Especially here a bit. That's it. And then I will choose a different brush because I don't feel like using this rough pencil or whatever. If you want, you can go ahead and do that. That's perfectly okay. But I want to show you another favorite one of mine in ink. And that's called ink roller. Where is it? Oh, there you are. That's the ink roller. It's at 450. Let's check. Ooh, super big. So we're going to go ahead and make it as tiny as possible. Yep, that should be okay. Or even further down, about 80s. I want the shadow to be on top of these whatever extra things that I'm putting. So I'll go back to the green, light green layer and then press plus. And now I'm going to go ahead and add these things. And you see it's coming out. Don't worry about that. I'll show you how to fix it. I'm going to add some like that without a lot of pressure a little bit. And you know, so that it looks like this. And then I'm going to reduce the size even further and add a bit of here even further, actually much thinner like that. That maybe? Okay. And once you have this, there's this thing called clipping mask. So you're going to just add the clipping mask and then it's going to clip itself to this light green layer. So what this means is that this is going to show up only where there is this light green. It won't show up on anything else. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. Maybe we should make this a little darker, this green, because I kind of don't like that too light color. So we'll use the middle green that we have. And I'm going to use, let me go to recent and hot pastel again. And I'm going to add a bit like that. Oops, it's going everywhere because, you know. So undo with your 2-finger tap. Plus, and let me do clipping mask again. And now I'm going to add it like this. I think that's better. And now let's go ahead and plus again. And again clipping mask. And I will use the light green that I have. This one. And make it even more lighter. And I'll go back to, again, ink roller. And I'm going to add a little bit bigger, please. And I'll add a bit of bright green to it. Because why not? And then we're going to add some rake like we used earlier, rake caps. And let's make this darker. Yeah, just add, I guess, wherever you feel like it'll look better. If you want to make that layer darker, click here and click on multiply. Then you can reduce this a little bit, and then you see you have a little darker shade. Let's do the seeds for the watermelon now. So I'm going to go into this red layer and plus. It really doesn't matter where you are. So click on your black, and here I will probably go into rough pencil because that seems like a good idea. And now I'm just going to show you roughly where it should be, around here, and then it should go all the way till here. I'm going to reduce it so that you guys can see it, plus, and then we're going to draw. This is too big, so we're going to reduce it. Let's use a different brush. Go in here, go into ink and Belgian comics, another favorite one of mine. And then it's so easy to draw with this. So all you have to draw is seeds like this, and make sure there's enough gap between them. And you see the angle, they're not in the same, they're all not drawn like this, but they are kind of angled out in like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add more. Some places put a lot of seeds, and some you can just, add a bit, I guess. Probably enough. Let's check. Yeah, that looks good. And if you want, you can add a lighter bit of shade here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and go to white and go into my soft opacity, round opacity brush that I showed earlier. And I'm going to go ahead, oops, different layer. So plus, and I'm going to add a bit of lighter shade here. And once you're done with all of this, you can go ahead, click and select on invert selection. And the reason I've done is I want to add a tiny bit of darker green over here. Let's go in here and use the rough pencil because I think that looks nice. Select the darker green that I have, or you can always do this one so you know which one is selected, and then you can go ahead and add a bit like that. I don't want you to add too strong things, and make sure there's no gap between the watermelon layer and this, and then we're going to add like that, and we have to add it here as well slightly. Okay, let's see how it looks like. Deselect, and there you go, that's your watermelon. I'm going to uncheck the sketch because I don't need it anymore. It looks nice. So now we're going to add some background. So I want you to go all the way down to this white layer here, or the white image layer here, which is the background, by the way. You can uncheck it and get a transparent PNG, but we will put it back, plus for a different layer. And I want to go into FX. If you don't have FX, you can also go into watercolor brush, into watercolor, and you can use the watercolor wet spatter. So I will try out the ink spread or ink stains. I think it's the ink spread, yes. So we're going to use some yellow. I want some nice bright yellow here, and we're going to add a bit over here like that. And the red ones, and then I'm going to use the ink stains. Let's see how it looks like. Isn't this what we used just now? Doesn't matter, we're just experimenting and trying to add. Oh, there's a spatter mix, so I'm going to try that. Oh yeah, this is perfect. So I'm going to add some spatter mix here. Like I told you, you can use the watercolor splash, or what is that called? Yeah, watercolor wet spatter, and create similar effects. So it's fine. Just work with what you have in the beginning. It's totally okay. Okay, I'm going to add some here, and I think I am done. Once you're done, you can always click on share, publish and export, export as, and export it as a PNG or JPEG or PSD or PDF, whatever you want. You can also watch the time lapse by clicking on share and preview time lapse. You can do that, and you can also export it to whatever device or whatever you want. So that's it. That brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I hope you liked it. And if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you want to support this channel, you can always buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com. The link to do that is in the description box below. If you create something, share your work with me. I am Print Me Some Color on both Instagram and TikTok. If you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. And I guess I'll see you in the next video then. Bye-bye.